Suffering a heavy test defeat can often leave even the best of captains looking for reasons, introspecting, or trying to reach straws for things that just didn't really impact, let's say, the result. And exactly the same thing, I dare say, seems to be happening to Ben Stokes. The England captain was in a very buoyant, positive mood after the first test, which they won at Hyderabad, but since then suffered back-to-back heavy test losses and now finds himself at a bit of a crossroads with not only England's approach being questioned, but also more increasingly his captaincy. For instance, there has been plenty of talk that Stokes' DRS calls have been woeful at best and horrendous at worst. But Stokes has gone in a little different direction with some of his post-match comments, and whilst he said very clearly that poor DRS calls or questionable DRS calls have little to do with England's form or England's losses, because as he said, it's not an excuse. He has drawn a lot of, let's say, attention to some questionable DRS calls that came their way, particularly in the second innings, which involved, let's say, Zach Crawley, which was again given out when Jasprit Bumrah trapped him leg before. To the naked eye, it didn't look like it was missing, but replays suggested that it was an umpire's call, and therefore Crawley was in a rather bemusing fashion given out. What has Stokes done on that? He said, listen, I think we should scrap the umpire's call. In fact, this is his exact quote. He said that my personal opinion is if the ball is hitting the stumps, it is hitting the stumps. They should take away umpire's call, if I'm being perfectly honest. Now, I'll give you a little bit of context as to what exactly the reason was for him saying this. Stokes, after the match, was pictured speaking to the match referee, gaining some sort of a clarification on that particular decision. In fact, Stokes himself spoke about it and said that, the images that we were shown, it showed that, or it appeared as if the ball wasn't hitting. But then we found out about the calculations, and the calculation showed that there was enough contact on the bails to ensure it was given an umpire's call. So it was a bit confusing. That's why he says that it's, in my opinion, you should take away the umpire's call, if I'm being personally honest. In fact, he goes one further than this as well, and he said, we just wanted some clarity around Zach's DRS when the images came back. The ball is quite clearly missing the stump on the replay, so we were a bit bemused. In fact, he goes on to add that on the on the replays that were shown, there was not seemed to be no impact, but when they were shown the actual DRS calculations, it appeared as if the ball was in fact hitting. So he said that the image that was flashed was probably the wrong one. Now, this in itself does raise a lot of questions on DRS itself, which is something we've mentioned. But again, really to be mentioning something like this at a time when you're 2-1 down in the series, having lost back-to-back test matches, does in fact scream of sour grapes. Now, I must give Stokes his credit here, to give the devil his due. He did say very clearly that this is in no way, shape or form an excuse, because even with those calls not going our way, we probably would not have been winning the test match anyway. 500 runs are a lot of runs. But drawing so much attention to the DRS at a time when your team have suffered a heavy loss just seems like a classic case of deflecting the focus away onto issues that probably shouldn't matter that much. Yes, we know DRS isn't perfect. Yes, we know the umpire's call can be a bit contentious, but it's the same for every team that plays. Every team has sometimes had a bafflingly bad call. Every team has sometimes been on the wrong side of that, where you think it's out, but then the replays and simulations show that's not necessarily the case. So it does happen. Maybe, yes, you're right in the sense that you could perhaps work to make it better, but technology isn't linear, and perhaps we're not at a time yet whereby the umpire's call can just be eliminated. So rather than focusing on that, the best thing perhaps for the England camp to do would be to ensure they're playing better test cricket come the Ranchi test. But what are your thoughts on Stokes' DRS rant? Do you agree with him? Disagree? Do you think it's sour grapes? Do you think he's just trying to deflect? Let us know all of that in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap the bell icon, follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Don't forget to download the SportsTak app, and if you're already on the channel, go ahead, check out some other videos we've done as well. For now, from my side though, it is goodbye.